and you'll find out a lot about Josh in this episode. I was really excited when I first met him in at a restaurant in North Brunswick. I was there celebrating with my friends for a birthday and thought, here's a magician, but man, did he blow us away. And not just because of the magic tricks that blew me away, but also just his personality, his drive, his zest for life and for learning. And he's going to tell us a little bit about his journey. So, Josh, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Absolutely. So just tell me a little bit about just yourself. How did you get into magic? How'd you get into that? Because it's pretty cool. You have a definite niche in what you're doing.
Yeah, very random career, very random thing to pursue and do as a living.
Yeah.
But magic came to me randomly. I guess I had that curiosity intrinsically my whole life, and I didn't know
Mhm.
because I ended up creating my own trick a few years ago with no prior magic background or interests, no magic kits as a kid, no
Yeah.
mentors, no TV specials that I watched. And by creating that trick and trying it out on strangers around the streets, and I was in Italy at the time, so not only doing it for strangers, but doing it to strangers with a language barrier, because a lot of people don't speak English there.
Yeah.
It was a nice experience, definitely something very different than
Yeah.
what I've encountered in my life, and so that curiosity piqued my interest to pursue it, and now I'm fortunate to do a lot of crazy things.
So I have to ask, so not doing it as a kid, where did it start? That was it just like a, hey, hanging out with my friends, I'm gonna try to learn something cool?
It wasn't stemming from an interest to learn something. It was just a straight fidgeting with a deck of cards just for the sake of fidgeting. You know, if you're sitting at a desk, you'll grab something and play with it. You'll,
Yeah.
wherever you are, you'll always grab some random thing and fidget with it. That's just the nature of
Oh my gosh.
free time, regardless if it's minimal or maximum. And that fidgeting spurred a moment of creativity to create a trick, which ultimately led to where I am now.
That is so cool. So one of the things I remember we were talking and just, I mean, you were definitely very, very confident. And I was like, all right, I'm going to ask this guy a little bit about himself because I'm thinking, how do you get into this? And one of the things I remember you sharing was just that you had actually left, I believe, a job that you had before to like pursue this. And that's a
Mhm.
scary thing for people. So can you tell me just a little bit about your background?
Yeah, I'm a first generation American from Ukraine. I grew up around Princeton, so not too far from where we met in North Brunswick. I have a degree in business analytics, information technology. I used to work in data analytics and finance, and then I left it to pursue magic, which was a choice that I decided it was taking up too much time and I wasn't really enjoying the type of work I was doing there, although the skill set that I'd studied I thought would could have been more utilized, may have been just my role. And I just came into those struggles of trying to ask for specific kinds of work and receiving a different type. And so that work that I did receive was not quite enough to intrigue me and entertain me. And over time, it just was, one thing I was like, yeah, this is the corporate world. You gotta just sit through it. You gotta bear it. It's a hurdle. But then there came a case where someone else came onto my team after my team had a lot of turnover. People switched to new roles or retired and such. And when these new people came, I'm the one that had to teach them. So now there were new people that everything they do, they learn from me. They're doing
Mhm.
the exact same thing for me because they can't. Well, not that they can't do anything else. They eventually, once they got their bearings, found their own work. But for a good number of months, everything they did was everything I showed them to the T because I was the trainer.
Wow.
And I started getting very thrown off when, the type of work I was asking to receive, knowing that was available, eventually was being given to them. And I'm like, hey, it's been like a year or however long it was, and I've been asking for I haven't been asking to switch. I haven't been asking to not do my tasks, but I want those roles as well.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's coming, it's coming. And then someone that came, and not to say that that person's not capable of it, but knowing that, so that kind of drew me in a way to not really enjoy the role, and I
Mhm.
stayed there a little longer, and then I switched and jumped to magic. But I realized that is something I also enjoy doing, so I like to still do both. I still am into data science and data analytics, so I came back into the field out of curiosity for learning, curiosity for building projects, and now I make the stuff I want, and it's fun,
Oh,
and
that's
so I
really
get to
cool.
do both, and I cross the two. Magic helps me with data, data helps me with magic. It's a flowing
I have
cycle.
to ask in what way? In what way do they both kind of correlate?
Well, when you always try to create or innovate, right, there's always writer's block, there's always problems, there's always everyone has their place where they come up with their ideas, and it's never when they're working.
Yeah.
Everyone is singing, they come up with ideas. They go for runs, they clear their head, it comes to them. They get in the shower, like everyone has a spot to
Sure.
think no matter how much you love your job, and it doesn't come to like the work you're doing, how passionate you are, whether you're happy or it just comes to the workplaces where you work. It's not really the place to be to create. You do create there, you come up with ideas, but everyone, you know, has their spot. Like I said, that's not work. You know, you don't work full time in a shower. You don't work full time while you're running. But those are the places where people come up with those solutions to their challenges, their problems in life, the relationships at work. And so when I'm trying to do stuff with magic, I don't come up with those answers that I look for. But when I'm outside of magic, oh, everything comes to me. And then the same thing when I'm sitting working on projects, reports, or whatever it may be. You know, ways to optimize, ways to improve it, better functionality. You know, you think about that stuff, it doesn't come. But then I'm doing a magic trick. I'm like, that was easy in a way that relates to that, and you kind of dip one helps the other in ways you don't think, but you can kind of relate to when you start to think and ask yourself, where do you come up with your best ideas?
Yeah.
You know, it's always somewhere outside of where you work.
So you were doing magic for a certain period of time while you were working in data analytics that kind of forced you to make the jump?
Yeah, I was not doing too much with the magic careers, right? It's not something I could have pursued or done. And, you know, over time, it just started to flip-flop, right? Like the money with the magic was going up and the interest was going up. The interest at the data role I had at the time was going down. The money was flat. It
Yeah.
was corporate America. And eventually those lines start to intersect and you're at a point where you're like, is it worth it? You know, before it's not, is it worth it? You have no choice. And then once you start getting to that point of, is it worth it? Now you're in the room for flexibility, right? You have the room to continue to think about switching, and then you take some more time, which makes it more comfortable transition, and then you make that leap.
I've been talking to a lot of people that have all been incredibly successful and they've taken that leap, and I think it's something so scary for so many people. And I want to add that extra layer that you had because you said you were first one in your family born here in the US.
Yes.
Yeah. So how was that? Because I know that's something that people struggle with all the time. Expectations coming over in the US, right? It's like we built a whole something here and there's expectations. So how did your family and how did you navigate that?
Yeah, I think that got a little patted down by having an older sibling.
Wow.
So, and we have an age gap, so by the time, you know, I came to those points of graduating high school, graduating college, working,
Yeah.
my brother had long been past those by a while. It's not like he just graduated, so now 2 years and I'm there. You know, we have a much larger gap. So they kind of went through that whole having a kid in America. Like my brother wasn't born here, but he did high school here, he did college here, he works here. So they kind of went through the ropes, got the hang of it. So all those stress, I think he fought those battles. He crawled so I could walk. It's always one of those things where you look back, like if you ever, you know, have immigrant families or parents and you go back home and you see where they came from and that it's always uplifting, inspiring. You find the beauty in the where they were from, but you also find that like we left that for a reason. It's time to make it so like the future generations don't have that either.
Absolutely. So they were okay with you making the leap.
No,
Oh, they were.
not at all.
So
I meant like
safe.
I think they came to terms with it as again that line, right? It's like this is not a good idea. Why are you doing this? And the checks keep rolling, and then more checks are coming, and the numbers are bigger, and then they stop talking. So the numbers, you know, numbers always talk, and so at first no, because they don't realize it, they don't, you know, see the long distance term of it and everything, and then when you start seeing the numbers, it's like okay, like this is not a bad thing, because then it goes from you shouldn't do this to okay, you could do this while you find a new role to there's levels in between you should do it and you shouldn't.
Yeah.
And I think the numbers are what really kind of guide people to start being more open to it. They're
Yeah.
like, oh, maybe you could do this for a little. Maybe you could spend more time with it. Maybe you could spend all your time when you go through all of them. Yeah, I wouldn't say it was years. I don't think the intervals were really like time dependent. I think it was just whenever the numbers would
Yeah.
come. You know, like if you got a really big show, you know, that check looks really nice and it's like that's the amount for one day. And you compare that to what how long it would have taken me in my old role to do that. It's okay, like if you can sustain this and find a way to get that consistency, that's good. But also it's not something that's consistent. You're never guaranteed to have something every week or
Yeah.
every month. And so it's like not 50-50, but it's a scale that's always tipping in either direction.
Absolutely, I could see that. And so one another thing I think you told me you know multiple languages, and so between the languages and also I think you have it seems just such a natural ability to connect with people. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Like how was that a skill you had to develop, or was that something that just came naturally to you?
I think it's something over time I've had like little interests and hobbies. I've always found people that speak a lot of languages so cool. Never had enough interest to dive into it, but I think I've always told myself I would do this or that and never did. Like when I was in high school, I think I went to the library and I borrowed a book to learn Chinese and I never opened it and I returned it. But like I had that curiosity, like, oh, Chinese would be cool. And I think I've had like little moments like that. I never did anything, never even started, but I grew up speaking Russian and English, so I had two to start. Got a little Spanish in school, but I had a terrible teacher one year, and she completely, like, she was out to get me, and I could prove it.
Yes, yeah, yeah. It's all.
Because this was an AP Spanish class, and this teacher was her first year teaching at our school. So she's coming into a new class. She doesn't have anything to compare our students before or after, right? We're a good school, we're a good area, but everyone was not as good as she made it seem. So her class was actually very hard, which is fine. Challenges are normal. But then, like in class, like I was struggling to do the work. But at home, when I had all the time in the world, I would do very well, on
Mm.
things like homework. And if you did the math and you included my homework, I had a decent grades. I probably had like a B, somewhere in the 80s range. But if you don't count that, then it drops because I'm not doing as well during the day. And so my grade was like tanking, and then she would claim I wouldn't participate because during the day, like she would do these lessons and activities, and we get worksheets. She'd give us time to work on them, and they were really hard, so I didn't really finish them ever. But after she gave us like 10 minutes to work on it, she would spend 10 minutes going over the answers. If you tell me the answers, I'm gonna write them down for notes and keep them. And then she was arguing that I wasn't paying attention. I just waited for the answers, and I was like, no, I trying. It's not my fault if my genuine attempt is not a very high completion rate. If I wouldn't have the answers on the sheet if you didn't just give them to us, right? Like you could
Yeah,
just collect the assignments without giving the answers and grade them. But you can't be mad at me for having the answers because you just told us the
yeah.
answers. And so she wouldn't count those homeworks for anyone. And then my participation grade, she was like dropping me unfairly for that. Did the math. It would have been the whole year I would have had to work my butt off to get a good grade. I'm like, it's not worth it. So I dropped Spanish completely.
No way.
And as soon as I left that class, she started counting homework for everyone.
Oh no way.
So I dropped my Spanish stemmed from just speaking with people over the years, just more conversations, naturally picking up more and more. And then I had a phase with Portuguese where I
Oh,
tried it. I thought, it's time to do another language or it'd be fun. I have some free time. And I tried it. Didn't stick
no.
at all. Quit with no progress. A year later, I tried it again. I didn't do anything different. I didn't change my mentality or the style of learning or that. But for whatever reason, the second time it clicked very well. And to the point where when I met you, you were celebrating your friend's birthday who's
Yes.
from Brazil. And I was speaking to him in Portuguese. And I'm actually a lot better than I was then because I was just having basic phrases that
Oh,
made sense. Now I'm having full conversations, which Portuguese picked up. Then I tried to do Ukrainian because I'm from Ukraine. I picked up a lot because I already speak Russian. The similarities kind of click. Italian, I picked up a decent amount, but
okay.
Ukrainian and Italian were things that so English, Russian, Spanish, Portuguese are those that I'm not going to forget. I could not use them for a while, and I'll have them. Ukrainian and Italian, I didn't quite bring up to that level
Yeah.
of like it's locked in. So for me, it's when it's on, I remember pretty quickly, and I'm good. Since we last saw each other, Swedish was also added
Oh, come
into the mix.
on.
And Swedish came about from a curiosity to do this. These languages I've studied in different ways, but I've never done like a time trial kind of thing. And so when I was booked to perform in Stockholm, Sweden in November, it was towards the end, right after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I decided let's study Swedish for 30 days, see how we do, and do a video on it. Like I'm gonna do magic in Swedish. So I put out a YouTube video learning Swedish in 30 days, street magic in Stockholm,
Oh,
and every video is me doing a few clips of me doing different magic tricks to different groups, and all of them are in Swedish. So with Swedish, I'm picking it up. Like I'm not the best speaker. I'm getting better at reading. I'm understanding more words. My vocabulary is growing, but I could do magic in Swedish. Several different tricks in Swedish from start to finish fluently,
amazing.
perfect grammar. So I'm magic fluent. I'm not anything else fluent, but it's a nice way to connect. And what surprised a lot of people was there. It's one of those places where when they know you're not Swedish, they speak English.
Yeah, yeah,
It's kind of like France. If you try to speak, they're just going to answer in English because they
yeah.
think they're helping you. French, they're just rude. I hear. I've never been to France, but
I've
they
been to
tell me they're
France. They're
just
very
rude.
nice as long as you try.
And then Sweden, they're very nice. But for me, I surprised a lot of like Swedish people that watch the video because they're like, wow, like not what's not surprising is just the fact that you were speaking Swedish, just that they were answering you in Swedish
Um,
instead of going to English. And I was like, oh, that's a nice little.
That's a
Nice
compliment.
little flex or whatever you want to call it.
I love that. So how did you learn that quickly? Like what was
Yeah,
different ways, different methods?
yeah. The best way is, you have to immerse yourself. So you have to do a little of everything, right? Reading, writing, writing. I would say no. Writing and grammar aren't important. And anyone listening that wants to critique me, like, of course they're important to a language, but I don't think those are language learning tools. I think those are language refining tools, right?
Yep.
Because grammar is just perfecting your language, right? You're not improving the language by changing like I went to I go, right?
Mm,
Because at the end of the day, you could tell that the idea is you're trying to speak about you going to a
yeah.
place. I go, I went. It's just saying it right. But like if you're learning an English speaker and they're like, "Oh, what did you do yesterday?" and someone's like, "Oh, I go to the market," blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, go is present, but you're asked that question in past tense. You know that they're going to answer in past tense,
Yeah.
and they might respond in present, but you know that they don't speak English normally, so they're trying to speak past tense and they don't understand it. No one's ever gonna that's you're not gonna get misunderstood in that sense, you
Absolutely.
know? And so grammar and writing I think you shouldn't really do. The first things are try to get as much vocab as possible. Vocab is great because the more you know, the easier it is to pick up and understand and connect things. Try to
Right.
speak as much as you can. It doesn't matter how much you know. If today you learn hi, say hi over and over and over until you could say hi, how are you? Until you could say how are you doing? Just anything. If you know a word, use the word. If you know a sentence, use the sentence and build from there. Even on day one, always speak, and then over time, grab more vocab, and then try lessons, try readings. Everyone has their way that works, and I would say that as you try them all, you'll see what helps you start learning faster, and then just do that. So try
Yeah.
everything to see what works the best, but initially start with a big emphasis on speak as much as you can and get as many words as you can.
I love that. And I think the combo too is right. I know years ago when I tried like Rosetta Stone to pick up on Spanish because I can speak French, and I found that like that combo of different learning styles helped. And then also just watching things with captions and like forcing myself to watch TV shows but have it in a different language would force me to,
Right.
or I don't watch TV at all, right? So that's pretty cool. So how many languages total?
That would be seven, but again, four good. Swedish is the newest, if you want to count that, and then the Ukrainian, Italian are kind of when they're on, they're on, they're off, they're off. Right now, they're more off, so they're buttons, they're on and off. So between five to seven,
But
depending on how you want to count them.
how amazing to be able to, 'cause I think that's the key, right? Is when you're traveling, when you're doing shows, when you're connecting with anyone, even if it's saying hello, right? You're connecting with them at a different level that they're
Right.
really surprised you don't need to know the whole language.
Well, a great example is even like on a very basic level. I had an event. It was no, end of November. It was around that time, and there's a lot of Koreans there. I don't know any Korean, but I was curious. Let me start with one Korean thing,
Yeah.
and I just like, hey, how do I say hi? My name is Josh. How are you? And I kept saying it and saying it. At the end of the day, I still didn't really get it, and I had it, but not like that it was memorized. And I tried it again the next day, and it didn't. But then it clicked again. Like it stuck on the third day, and the third day was the day I wasn't trying to get it to click. And when I went to Sweden, I met people from Korea that were visiting,
There you
and I have the video of part of the vlog where I introduced myself, and they were so surprised. And I don't speak Korean.
go. My
All
God.
I said was, "Hi, I'm Josh. How are you?" But even that was enough for them to like be surprised. And then another time at the restaurant we met at,
Yeah.
we had a table, and I asked them where they were from. They told me they were from Kenya, and I was like, I don't know what language they speak in Kenya. So I was like, what language do they speak in Kenya? And she told me that they speak Swahili. And so I said hello in Swahili, which is the only word I know.
Oh
The
my God.
face was amazing. So even just a hello
That's so
goes
cool.
a long way. So, there's no harm in a word. And
Yeah.
even if you don't have the time to learn a language, it'll never hurt you to learn something. Hi, hello is already going to make a big impact to a person or a community. So you
Absolutely.
should never discount little things.
I love that. I think so many people where we get caught up in, oh, we can't learn a language. It's like, well, think about all the other things you can learn in your adult life. I mean, if you can learn that many languages, you could do anything. It's just dependent on your mindset, right? Your mindset saying, I can do it. That's pretty awesome.
Right. I think the two biggest misconceptions that people have is one, thinking that children have it easier. They don't. You're just like a child because when a child's growing up, when they're a toddler, they say things that are ineligible. You don't know what they're saying, and then they say, but they build it the same way as you do. Yeah, you're going to sound like a toddler, but that's because you're learning and you're just starting. So that's one thing. Toddlers don't have it easier. Everyone has that phase where you're saying random things that don't make sense, and then you're saying certain words that are kind of understandable, and then you're building sentences. It's just a natural progression because you're starting at zero and you're going up. And then the second thing is that people get so scared to speak because they think people are going to laugh at them. That's just an illusion
Yeah.
because, we speak English. So anyone listening here, think of any time someone that didn't speak English as their first language tried to communicate with you and think about how many of those times you thought it was funny that their English wasn't good. That never happens. You never laugh at someone. I don't think I've seen that happen. Yeah, maybe one word they pronounce in a funny way. That's different. That's just a specific example. Overall, like when people try to communicate in English and it's clear it's not their first language, I don't think that ever is the case, if at all or rarely, where someone laughs. People are always very supportive and they help them. Like there's so many people here that come from other countries. You have to have had that encounter with people. And then if you remember that, it's going to be the same way for you. Whenever you try a language, that's what's going to happen. You're going to try. It's not going to be perfect, but they're not going to think it's funny that you're trying. They're going to help you.
That's
So,
so true, Josh. Like I see that as when people are, even when I teach presentation skills, communication skills, and so often people are, it's that fear of being judged. And I agree. It's like when you just make the effort, when, what other time you are so amazed when someone makes an effort to do that, right? Even if it's a word or whatever they say. So I think it's that fear of judgment where kids don't have that necessarily. They don't experience people laughing at them or the fear of that, right? They have no fear. So there's a lot of things they'll take on quicker, and that's possibly the disconnect. Tell me a little bit about just continue. You're such a continuous learner. I think that back to that because that's something that just stuck out to me so quickly, right? We were only talking maybe 15, 20 minutes. What are some other things that in your life that you would even advice that you would give to other people on how they can really build that muscle? Because I think it is a muscle. Like you have to really build it and want to learn and have that desire that there is no like destination. It's ongoing. So just what are
yeah,
your
I'd say it's a muscle that's you're not born with. You
Mhm.
have to get the muscle and then you have to train it. And so getting it's the hard part because you don't think that you're someone that can study or can work out or can focus. Well, it's because you've never done it before. And going and trying it and quitting is not trying it and saying it's not for you. It's because you have to go through that pain. You have to go through that struggle to build that. If you work out a few times, you get used to the sweat. Next day, you're fine. You run a few days, then the last day you're going to run longer than all the other ones, right? It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what level you're at. And you just have to break through that very thin barrier. It's you're convincing yourself it's thick.
Yeah.
It's not. You do it a few times and it's already easier. Like even if you tried something 3 times, the third time you already will have a big difference from the first, regardless of preparation or nothing. Obviously, don't do something extremely dangerous and risky underprepared, but you'll see that even with simple tests, walking further, right? Like maybe you need to walk more and you're not a walker and you walk today for 5 minutes and you're breathing heavy and tomorrow you walk for 5 minutes you're breathing heavy. The third day you're not going to breathe as heavy on 5 minutes. Some of these are even 3 4 day things
Yeah.
before a change is seen. It's not going to be gradual, a huge change, but like there is a difference that quick. And so the key is don't tell yourself you don't have that ability. You don't know you don't have that ability because if you're someone that's saying that to yourself, you've probably not tried to the depth to really understand. And if you have, then it's probably just something you don't want to do because you probably, if you did go that far, you probably do have the ability to do it. The real reason you're not doing it is because you probably don't want to or don't feel like it or don't like it. And that's has nothing to do with your ability. I don't think that there's such a thing as not being able to learn more or train yourself to. You either didn't do it enough to know that you can, or you know that you can and you just don't feel like it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a story we tell ourselves. I think sometimes we tell ourselves a different type of story that we can't, and if you can't, you're not going to be able to. So, like you said, there's the incremental change over time becomes really massive over time, but we don't see results quickly. I think that's where we're in society. We're just trained to want the magic pill. It's like the language, right? I want to learn a new language. If I don't learn it in like 30 days, the average person is going to have a hard time learning a language in 30 days, maybe not you. So just going back to so just tell me a little bit because this whole like celebrity magician and mentalist. I don't think I know what a mentalist is. I think I've watched a show called The Mentalist. So tell me a little bit how you even got into the celebrity side of it. How did it take off? So
Yeah, I would say that I definitely targeted the niche market
okay.
before. I knew that that was the market I wanted to target when
Yeah.
I was early on. I thought that would just be something cool to do, is perform for celebrities. So I didn't know how to do that, who to go about doing that, or anything. But I was like, I want to target that somehow. And it started with going out, just being in different places, being in more rooms, being in more environments, being in more parties. From
Hmm.
there, meeting more people, going to more things, right? When people invite you to things, you say yes. You go to one thing, you get invited to the next, you go to the next, and just being out and about all the time, every time I can, as much as I can.
Were you comfortable doing that?
You're gonna have to get over that hump if you really want to grow or do anything. You have to go places and you have to be everywhere. Eventually, you grow to a point where you can pick and choose whether you feel like going, and it's not gonna be the end of the world. But at the time, in my mind, it was like if I don't go to this, everything falls apart. Because if I go to this, I know something next will come from that, and something next will come to that. So in my mind, I'm breaking a chain. I'm not going to an event event number 10 because I'm not going tomorrow because tomorrow's event number one, which is going to invite me to, and at event number one, I'm going to meet someone who invites me to event number two, which is going to go there. And the thing that I'm looking for is probably on event number seven, eight, nine, or 10. And if I
Oh,
don't go to event number one, I'm going to lose that. Now it's not that case. Because I built that brand, I am the brand. I don't need to force myself out there. They know me and they need me. But back then, I thought of it as like anything I don't go to, I lose a lot more than I think than
how
just not
long ago
going
was
there.
how long ago was the first event, and how did you even get into that?
So, well, these are just free events. It's anything, but they're not like something exclusive. They're not that. And then some had celebrities, some don't. But those are just the luck of the draw. I wasn't targeting going knowing that there's a celebrity or going knowing I'd perform for them. It's going and then when it happens to be one, trying to find a way to do it if I can. Can I get their attention somehow? Because their security's going to say no, their team's going to say no, staff at the venue are going to say no. If they say yes, that's it. Yes is yes for the first. You just got to get them to notice you. That could be as blunt as a sign. It could be as straightforward as approaching as close as you can. There's all kinds of things you do, and so you just keep going for it. You start using that once you get two. One is always going to be better than none. Two is going to be better than one. Three is that, and then for me, I'm at the point I have so many. Like another one's not going to change it. You get to a huge amount. It's the law of diminishing returns.
So you were going and literally like networking at anything that
You
you
just
possibly
you
could.
just go to anything. It doesn't matter what, especially with what I do, right? There's nothing I can't go to that won't be beneficial for me showing what I do and meeting people because I can go to a random cafe, go up to a
Yeah,
group of five people, someone's birthday's coming up, someone's party is happening, someone's getting married, someone has a corporate event. There's no harm for me ever and it's free to try. It's like the
absolutely.
best kind of ROI.
And it seems like also just like your mindset of thinking about that, right? You're not always just thinking, I think people want to do something different. They're like, celebrity, okay, that's all I need to do. Now, what are some possible things I could do? What could I be told no to and preparing before going in? What was your like kind of your first, I would say like big break, I guess, which is the first one that you kind of got into, or maybe one of the most exciting ones?
Well, I started doing famous DJs because I was going out a lot, so that's the easiest thing, right? When
Yeah.
you go out, there's someone playing, and the headliner is probably pretty well known, pretty
Yeah.
big, and I was going to places where always the big DJs play, and each time I wasn't guaranteed any time to do it, but I started getting this resume of DJs. So I was the celebrity magician because I was doing all these DJs, but really I didn't have any celebrities outside of DJs, right? Like
Yeah.
now I have politicians and actors and rappers and singers and everything. There it's just 40 of the top DJs and one rapper. Like it's not really a celebrity magician, but DJs are famous.
Yeah.
DJs count in celebrities. You include that. And
Yeah.
then slowly branched off. So the DJ realm started, and then early on, names like Vanilla Ice was at the time for me. Oh, that's huge. Now I've met him multiple times. I have a lot of footage with him.
Oh my
If
God.
it's not a local thing, I don't know if I would necessarily be inclined to go and do it for him again. He's great. I like him, but the opportunity cost for that wouldn't be worth it for me anymore as opposed to back then. But he was one of those earlier ones, and it was also like a nice change up because I didn't really have rappers. Now I've done so many of them.
Yeah.
So he was one of the early ones on there. Run DMC,
So cool.
one of them, because Run DMC, and he was one of the early adopters,
Oh my gosh.
and well, not adopters. He didn't adopt my term, but one of the people that got into that
Yeah.
celebrity profile of mine, and then it just started going a lot. I was 2022. I was getting a few names added on slowly, and then 2023 really blew up. There was over 100 people that year, right? We like 110. How did I do this many? Like
Oh my
this
God.
is just not a sustainable number. There's just not that many people. There's just an absurd number to me. And then 2024, probably around 50, 60. So just I'm doing one new person a week, from
Wow.
famous people to famous pro athletes to that, which is great. But that year, when I look back and I was like over 100, it's just insane. I have no idea how to quantify that number, but that just shows that I did something.
Well, so now were you getting mostly referrals? People referring you? That's why you stayed kind of with the rappers first, and then that went into other celebrities.
You get a little of everything, right? Like the rappers and stuff. The rappers always have songs and album listening parties, so that's a very small kind of like community. It's once you know a small group, it's not too hard to be steps away from the person that's doing the next event and getting in. So it's that network was kind of open to me. I opened up the DJ network, and so it was so easy getting DJs. But I didn't have the rap network, and once I started doing a few, it started opening to me there as well. And I opened up the branches to other things. A lot of them are cross-functional because rappers don't only hang with rappers. Why can't a rapper hang with an actor? And you get, two in one, and you slowly open up those branches. But it's just, again, just doing for any and everyone because you never know who the person is that's going to help you, who the person is that's going to hire you, who the person is that knows someone, whether that be someone for your resume or someone for your business or anything. You just have to just always try to meet as many people as you can when you're out. And the other thing of that is like, don't convince yourself that you have to when you go somewhere. Like, go out just to go out. If you go to an event and you don't meet anyone, that's also okay. As long
Absolutely.
as you make sure you have fun. Everything doesn't have to be business oriented.
Switch that off sometimes though, just being
Well,
out.
what I do is fun. When I get in business mode, like I'm always thinking about performing for people, but that means I'm gonna do something when I'm doing it. But that's a good mix for me.
I love that. Is there a set when you go and you perform for like some of the celebrities or whatever whoever you're performing for? Is it something set that you pick with them as far as what you're going to do, how much time, and you package it that way?
Yeah, I always go in with the assumption that I don't have much time,
Yeah.
and so I set my clock at about 45 seconds. That's all the time I'm gonna get. So I do a custom trick that I created that I'm really well known for, and I always start with that almost every time. It's such a powerful effect that buys me more time. They like it so much they want me to do more, and
I'm
now
always
I've
going to
just
ask you to do one of them.
we can do one, yeah, of course. And so I start with, that 45-second trick that's very good, very fast, very straightforward, works in all environments, doesn't matter if it's crowded, if it's loud, it goes very well. And then that always gives me the time to continue. And by giving that time, and then I also get to just hang with them, speak with their teams, get in touch with those people. Because if I try to message them, they're so busy, they might not
Yes.
respond. It's not a personal. If I message their friends are going to respond because their friends are not as flooded with as many requests, probably.
I love that because I was going to say you're in your role, what you're doing, you're also a natural like salesperson. I'm a salesperson as well. What you're doing, what I always talk about in sales is adding value first. You're doing that trick, you're getting their interest. Then once their interest, they see this is the value of me like engaging with this person even more.
Right.
I love that. I would assume that even most people would probably think that, oh, hey, these people are so busy, they're probably not going to go ahead and proactively refer me to people. My guess would be that they actually refer you because they see how great you are and you're so just great with people that they're doing a lot of the referring for you.
Yeah, the key is it's not their job to remember, it's your job to remind them.
Yeah,
So they could have the absolute perfect thing for you and they don't
there's
take you. That's not their fault.
totally.
It's because you didn't remind them. But if you got to follow up with people because maybe you have something coming up that's perfect for me
Yeah.
and we haven't talked in a while because everyone has their own lives. And I'm like, hey, how are you? And they'll be like, oh, that's crazy that you hit me up because I have something for you.
Yep.
You give them the ideas. Even if you're just messaging to say, hi, how are you? Or maybe you're just messaging for a completely different reason. That's also going to tell them, like, this magician, this salesperson, this real estate agent, this whatever it is coming to me. And that's good timing because I have something. You always have something that you need.
Absolutely. And your primary method of communication is probably text and Instagram, I'm guessing.
Everything, people get, if they're coming to me, right, it could be online, it could be my website,
Yep.
phone calls, text, emails, messages. Mine is the same. Like I have a very big believer. If you're having good communication, keep it. If this person's not very responsive and you don't know if it's you or not, you reach them on everything, right? Email them and call them and text them. Do everything. Send it all.
I
What
love
do you have to lose?
That's what I train salespeople to do. Like use all different methods until you figure out what that person's method is, right? Don't give up on one.
Right.
They might not check it that often.
Exactly.
I love that. So, all right, so I'm going to ask you to do a trick or something that's going to wow
Sure.
us.
And we're gonna try something here.
Oh boy.
And I decided to get black cards that are red because I like how this stands out. I've never thought to do that. But we have a deck of cards. Why
Mhm.
don't you name a card for me?
Seven of hearts,
The Seven of Hearts. Great. And is there a reason you said that, or is that random?
just random.
Okay, what we're going to do is we're just going to drop cards onto the table. And you just say stop when you like.
Okay. Stop.
Right there?
Yep.
Any more or any less?
Nope.
You sure?
Positive.
Okay. And a moment ago, if you stopped earlier, you could have gotten the Two of Hearts, Six of Clubs, Eight of Diamonds, Two of Clubs, Five of Diamonds. What card did you say again?
Seven of hearts.
The Seven of Hearts. Now, that was the fun one for the audience because people always think that's the card I want them to say. And that'd be too obvious if it was. But this is where we show where the fun part comes is when what you can do with the Ace of Diamonds. Okay?
Okay.
So, I'm going to go through these and you say stop.
Stop.
Right there.
Hmm.
Right here, yes?
Hmm.
Okay, great. Now watch what we can do. When I spread them,
Yeah.
we should be able to see The ace of diamonds, wherever it is, or maybe I can spread from the back. Let's find it. Ah, there's the ace of diamonds. Okay. Now the ace of diamonds, you can see it's on top of one card
Yep.
from where you said stop, being the seven of hearts.
Come on. Okay. All right. I'm not gonna ask you your secret because you'll never tell me.
And the seven of hearts is a great card. Let me give you a better view there. There's the seven. You
Oh
can
my
see
god.
that. I'm trying to hold the camera so I could see myself and
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
know I'm not on frame. Do you see the seven of hearts?
Yep.
I can push that in.
Yep.
I could put it about in the middle. Can you
Yep.
see that?
Yep.
And I'll show you that it's not on top or on bottom. Okay?
Yep.
Do you know why? Here we go. It's still not on top or on bottom. Do you know where it is?
No.
It's already gone
Oh wait,
to
come on.
uh,
Come on.
the seven of hearts.
So it is a good card.
It is
That's
a good card.
crazy.
Yes. Thank you.
And you
Thank
teach
you.
yourself all of these? How do you, what is the,
Just people go on runs and showers. You create. You start. I like to do backwards. I like to think what would be cool as the reveal or the effect. Well, what do I want to happen at the end? And then I reverse engineer. How do I make that happen?
so that's how the job fits in well with that, the data analytics.
Yeah, in a way. Although it's kind of again, it's kind of the verse questioning because data analytics goes to the beginning.
Yeah.
You question down to the beginning, and then in Magic, I question up to the beginning. I go from the ending questioning to the front.
Yep.
This is what I'm going to do. How am I going to get there? And I'm like reversing because this is the last step. What's going to be before it until you get to the beginning? And then data is like, this is what's happening now. What caused it? Well, what caused that? What caused that until you get to the root cause? So it's kind of opposite questioning,
That's
which is funny.
crazy. That is funny. So do you customize certain tricks for like whatever your audience is?
All the time. Yeah, I do custom things for specific people, for specific events, birthdays, weddings. I do custom things for TV if it needs to. Sometimes people call me and they're like, hey, Josh, Christmas is coming up. I want you to come on the morning show and do a Christmas theme trick, do a Halloween theme trick, do a Blue Day theme trick, which is apparently a big thing. Blue Day is like the most depressing day of the year, and people like to ask for me to do some kind of uplifting, positive themed message, which is
That's after
easy. I
dealing
think all of my stuff is uplifting and positive, so I'm like, that's a pretty done deal. And I always cater to things and discuss it. I'm a close-up magician and mentalist. I'm a stage performer. I do it all.
What do you when you say stage performer and mentalist? Describe that for me because that's the part I'm like I want to understand.
So stage performer, I'm doing a stage show, right?
Hmm.
It's not just me coming up and doing close-up tricks. I stand in front of everyone and do a full show,
Yeah.
like a 1 hour show on a stage. I do it on stages across the country, across the world. And
Yeah.
then mentalism is it's a type of magic. It's more deals with the magic of the mind as opposed to, magic tricks tend to be more sleight of hand, which is the skills that you practice to accomplish card tricks, coin tricks, whatever effects. And then mentalism is the magic of the mind. It's me being able to use what I know about human behavior, human psychology, incorporating sleight of hand to either figure out how you might behave and react in scenarios, how you might think, or how to get you to think one way as opposed to another.
That's wild. I've seen some of the videos of like asking like who's your first kiss and I know you like
Yeah.
nailed it. I'm like, wait, what? This is crazy. He does it with a million people.
Yeah, I have a few clips of those coming out. I had a few TV appearances earlier this month. I'm waiting to release it. I'll be posting the TV clips soon, and then I have a few more TV appearances coming up in February
I
where I'll
love
be
it.
doing more mentalism. So when I get that footage, I'll also be sharing that and posting that as well. So you'll get to see it, and everyone listening will be able to go and watch those as well.
I love that. And so you are performing in New York and New Jersey, Pennsylvania, where else? Because I know you're based.
Everywhere. January didn't have me outside of PA, New York, or Jersey yet, but next week I'll be in Costa Rica. So I'm ending the month doing a few shows in Jaco, Costa Rica.
How awesome is
So
that?
that'll be fun. And then February, I don't believe I have anything booked outside of those three states, but
That's really
the
cool.
way things go, an international trip could pop up last minute. So
Really
it's
cool.
possible. It's never not possible
Yeah.
unless I'm booked out the month, which is only usually December when that occurs.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But for
Yeah.
now, this month I had a few shows in PA. I don't have any more in PA. Actually, I have one more on Sunday in PA. And then New York's every week, Jersey's like every week, and then Costa Rica is next week. And then I come back and I even have a Connecticut show.
And are those private or is that like more of a public show?
Yeah, the Costa Rica ones are a mix. I have a few private ones, but I also am doing a public appearance at a hotel, a nightclub, hotel, restaurant. So that's public. Anyone in Costa Rica can come by and see it. One,
At work, right? So as you go, you're figuring it out as the business grows and continues to grow.
yeah,
It's pretty cool.
yeah. There's definitely a lot more efficiency that can be done, and time to start putting that to action. I've done that slowly. This month has been jam packed with all kinds of fronts, and still a lot more to do. So I'm excited to see how that plays out and try to get myself going.
So just as we're wrapping up, what advice would you give to someone early 20s, even 30s, like trying to make either a jump to something different? What should they be thinking about just early in their careers or just early in their lives to set themselves up for success later?
Well, if it's your own thing, the first thing to say is there's nothing wrong with having a side hustle.
Yeah.
Don't leave your day job right away. And if it's switching a new job, don't leave your day job right away. Because when you do make that leap, the more money you have saved up and on hand, the more easier it is to make that leap
Yeah.
because it gives you more time to sort things out and figure it out and you don't have that stress about bills. So even if you're ready for it, why not give it another month or
Yeah.
2 months or 3 months, depending on how much, maybe it's driving you mad and crazy. Don't lose your mental health and things. But I
Or-
can't imagine most people that need this advice would be in that position where it's really driving them crazy to stay an extra month or two. Prepare yourself, organize it.
And learning, and I'm thinking about you like networking. What might be some things that you would recommend? Because I feel like you were very confident, but some others may not be as confident to do that early in their career.
I think it's just about having three things for yourself outside of, your normal day to day. You should always have one thing that keeps you creative. Doesn't matter what it is. Find a hobby
I
and
love
use it. That's going to keep you escape from the world, and everyone always needs those escapes outside of resting and naps. Find something that makes you money outside of your job, and that could be as simple as just investing the money you make at your job. Just anything that gives you money outside of your paycheck,
Yeah.
whatever that is. Doesn't even have to be a lot, but yeah, a law of compounding will have. So have one thing that'll be money for you outside of work. Have one thing that'll be creativity for you outside of your life, and then have one thing that'll be healthy for you outside of that. Something to keep you healthy, something to keep you creative, and something to keep you rich. Just one
Ah,
of everything. It doesn't matter what it is. I
so
think that's the best simple framework to have. The health could be working out, the health could be a sport, the health could be a physical activity, the health could just be walking. The money could be an idea, a new business, a side hustle, it could just be investing, could be saving, could be anything. Right? It could be doing Uber on the weekends, whatever you want. And then the creativity is limitless. That's just anything in the world can keep you creative. Go to
yeah.
a bunch of new things and see if any stick, and if they don't, go to another one. Go to events, go to places, meet people, whatever it is.
I love how like that's such a simple framework. Like you said, it's simple, and just to keep that because I feel like sometimes we overwhelm people. Do this, do that, do this. But for you, what's your go-to to keep you healthy? Say that.
Healthy. Try to. My two biggest that I'm most consistent are saunas and walking. I
Yeah.
definitely walk 10K steps a day. This month has been chaos, but I think today's the 17th day. I've only missed four
Awesome.
days, which is four more than I'd want to miss, but nothing's going to be perfect. You can
Sure.
always curve it up. But I mean, yesterday I did like 13K, which I
Nice.
only wanted 10. But I had a really good day. And then, yeah, trying to get those steps. Saunas, I'm trying to do as much as I can. So now it's going to be either having later stuff in February so I could do the sauna or just waking up earlier,
Yeah.
which I've been doing really good with lately. So I might just start waking up earlier and make sure I get that sauna. And then when there's time, adding in the gym. I did it a few times this month, but
I love
saunas and walking have been my favorite additions. And as I find more, I'll also be including that.
I love that. Saunas are the best. People underestimate how amazing they make you feel too, right? Just health benefits too. Uh,
Right.
and then my last question is, who inspires you every day? Who
I'm gonna
inspires?
say myself, and not in a selfish way, but just because of the quickness and how I've scaled my brand is just always good because it's really cool to think that just the 2 years ago version of me was like wishing to do certain things I'm doing now and hoping I can grow to that point somehow, and definitely would not have thought that 2 years would be what it takes to get there. So I feel like I live in the past in a weird way. Like when I do things like go on TV, I like feel like I jump into 2 year younger Josh, imagining going on TV thinking it was so hard and crazy and stunned. He's just like so shook and I can't believe it.
Oh
So
my
I'm
gosh.
always like talking to my past self. It makes me excited because I'm like proud for myself of like I got that. I think a lot of times with ambition, you don't give yourself that time to sit back and enjoy or like take your flowers, as they say. And I definitely, always am thinking on the next thing. And it's nice that I'm also having like little breaks where I'm just like laughing to myself because I'm like, wow, I really did this, or I'm doing this. And so I think it's a really cool thing. It's like a self-love, self-inspiration kind of thing. Oh, I inspire myself, but with
No,
context, you understand that it
I
actually makes more
totally
sense than it sounds like.
self-compassion, self-love, like that's all important, right? And to scale like that in such a short time is honestly absolutely incredible. I'm sure everybody watching this can see that. And it's like you dreamt big, and that's I think a fear of people, just to dream big and just do big. And you have the capability. If you can imagine it, you can think about it, it can happen. And you're proof of that, which is just amazing. I am going to ask one final question I have before. Um, one or two daily habits that have helped you scale the business, get the just have what you have now that's helped you be successful.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest wake me up kind of ideas that people don't think about, and even if they do, they don't realize how big of a wake up is just it's your job to create. No matter what you do, no matter what you're doing, it's your job to create. It's your job to innovate. It's your job to think, whether that's with business, whether that's with your hobbies, whether that's for yourself and getting better. Anything you're doing, we as people should always be responsible for thinking, for creating, for innovating.
Yeah.
And the more creative you are, the more spontaneous you are, the more you're going to be in that position you're taking away from yourself. So the one thing to do is just as soon as a thought comes to you, just write it down and then you don't have to think about it. Right? If you text me that you're going to talk to me on Friday, I'm going to say, Siri, tell me on Friday that where I'm going to have this call. I just drove by a really cool building that might be a great place to do a magic show. Write it down. This building looked cool. Email this person that, and then you have it in your to-do list. That comes down to being productive, going through the task. You don't have to remember it. You don't have to be like, who did I think would help me? Who did
Yeah.
I need to follow up with? It's already written. Just go find it. So I think the biggest thing is just jot everything down the moment it comes. Then you don't have to remember. And the less remembering you give, the less moments you leave yourself to remember, the better it will be for you in all aspects.
Totally. Such great advice, Josh. Yes, because when you think about all these like very successful entrepreneurs, right, just they reduce decision fatigue. Whether it's my
Mm-hmm.
outfit's prepared the next day, I don't have to think about what I just not keeping all this stuff up here in your head, right? Siri is a beautiful thing, like you said. You could be driving and dump all
Yeah.
the notes you need to in it. That technology is beautiful.
Literally just talk. Even in the languages it works. I didn't realize it does this, which I don't know why, but like if I have the different keyboards on my phone in the different languages when I try to text in other languages,
Yeah.
it works the same way. Like if I change the keyboard from English to Russian, if I start speaking into Siri in Russian, it'll start dictating notes in Russian. And I'm like,
Oh my God.
that's so great.
So cool. Well, Josh, first of all, thank you so much for your time, for your flexibility and like making this happen. I know there was some back and forth. And I'm going to make sure that I put all your socials, ways to contact you. I will be contacting you for April if you have availability for myself.
Sure.
I just remember like for those that are listening, this is why I do these podcasts. And you might see the types of people I have on, but just meeting Josh, I was just so curious. His intellect, his love for learning. It wasn't just the magic that inspired me, but to see that he scaled something in 2 years. It just I get to meet such incredible people like you, and I just try to share that. So that is always my goal. And thank you so much for just inspiring so many of us, including myself.